and welcome back to my channel. Hello everyone, I hope you are having a wonderful weekend and that you had a wonderful week. At the moment, I'm currently waiting for my boyfriend to get here so we can go see Scream, so I'm really excited about that. And I figured while I'm waiting, I'm all ready, I did my makeup, I might as well make a video while I'm here, you know, because I haven't done my makeup in a very long time. Also haven't worn contacts in a really long time, so my eyes are a little, you know, upset about it. But today in this video, I decided I wanted to do another state urban legends. I haven't done a state urban legend video in a really long time, and these are some of my favorite videos to make because I love urban legends, I love spooky things, and I think it's really fun to kind of learn about urban legends from different states because it kind of lets you get a little peek into that state's little culture. And so today, the state that we are going to be talking about is Alaska. I don't know if you've noticed this about Alaska, but Alaska's kind of terrifying if you really think about it. Not just because of, you know, there are some really creepy stories and conspiracy theories and things like that, and we're going to be talking about some of them, but also because Alaska's terrain is not necessarily the most inviting terrain, or at least some of it isn't. Especially if you're someone who doesn't live there in Alaska and is not trained to be in that area, like certain parts of Alaska. But when I was just reading about all these urban legends and all these stories and conspiracy theories, Alaska's kind of scary. To me, probably one of the most scary states out of all 50. It's pretty insane. But before I get started, for those of you who've never watched the State Urban Legends videos, basically what I do is I pick a state out of all 50, and I pick at least 3 to 6 of my favorite urban legends from that state, and then I talk about them here. Today, for Alaska's urban legends, I picked 3 because 2 of the legends I'm going to talk about, they're kind of urban legends / conspiracy theories, and they're kind of long, and yeah, so let's get started. The first urban legend I'm going to talk about is of a creature or a monster. I can't do one of these videos without talking about one of the scary monsters that a lot of the state urban legends have. Most states have a monster, a scary monster that is supposed to terrorize certain areas. Every single state has a Bigfoot, they have a Yeti, they have all kinds of stuff, but Alaska, in my opinion, has the most shape-shifting. Other than maybe Mexico. Mexico has a lot of shape-shifting creatures as well. But Alaska has a lot of creatures and shape-shifting creatures, but the one in particular that I wanted to talk about is called the Taka. And this one is very interesting. So I have notes. So if I look down, it's because I have notes. So basically, the Taka is said to be a shape-shifting creature. It looks like the hybrid of an otter and a man. It said that this creature could also potentially transform or shapeshift into other creatures as well. And in some stories it says that it can shapeshift into just a man, or it can shapeshift into just an otter, or into multiple different creatures. The stories behind this character, or this creature, I don't know what I want to say character, but this creature are very conflicting because some stories say that it's a very kind creature, and some say that it's not kind and very mischievous and evil. On the kind side, a lot of people say that it's very helpful, that it's friendly, it would occasionally help people if they get lost in the area, help them from drowning or freezing to death. It's even said that it would help turn people into otters temporarily, so that way they wouldn't freeze to death in the tundra. But on the other side of that, on the mischievous dark side, it said that the creature would lure sailors, or just people in general, to their deaths by mimicking the sounds of crying and screaming children. And not a lot of people know what it would do to the people when it would take them into the water. Some believe it would be to turn them into a Kushtaka as well. And some believe it's to rip them to shreds and to tear them apart. So I don't know. And while I was reading about this legend, it's actually not, there's not a lot about this creature. Like, even on Wikipedia, there's not a lot. And I tried to look them up, and a lot of the stories were extremely similar. But I love the thought of this shape-shifting creature that looks half otter and half man. Just like you're just lost, and all of a sudden this thing pops up. And also in my eyes, it's like, well, maybe it's turning people into another Kushtaka because it's lonely and wants a friend. I don't know, but I do find it very interesting. I do believe in there's a lot of Native American legends that there are people who can shapeshift into animals and like skinwalkers and stuff like that, and that is something that I do believe in. And I just find this one really interesting. I've also never heard of a shape-shifting creature that looks like an otter. But while I think otters are cute, I do think it'd be kind of frightening to see this creature. I don't want to call it a monster, but I don't know. The next legend / conspiracy theory we're going to talk about is kind of a long one, so prepare yourself for a huge explanation. So this is about the Alaskan Vortex. So a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Alaskan Triangle, but a lot of people believe that there are certain areas in Alaska that are like a Bermuda Triangle. It's actually said, I read in an article that over the 50 years, over either 20,000 of people or 200,000 people have disappeared in that area. But what's also interesting is Alaska has a large concentration of magnetic anomalies in the area, and not a lot of people know why it does, and it leads to the theory of the Alaskan Triangle. So, I'm gonna pick this up. So part of the reason that people believe that people can disappear in this area and believe it's like a Bermuda Triangle is because a lot of people believe that there's a space vortex within the triangle, and that this space vortex can transport things and people to a different dimension. And that maybe it's the cause of a lot of disappearing aircrafts that fly over the area. So I actually found a couple different articles talking about different aircrafts and stuff and ships and stuff that disappeared. So, Congressman Boggs' private plane disappeared in the Triangle in 1972. It was one of the nation's, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. So the plane lost communication while it was going above the area or through the area. And it was going through a storm. He messaged, and then suddenly he just disappeared. But what's interesting is after he disappeared, the effort of searches for survivors for wreckage, because you would think there would be a wreckage. Usually there is a wreckage. You see some plane debris. Even in the ocean, you would find pieces of a plane. But thousands of people were looking for this wreckage. And it's one of the largest searches in history. And nobody found anything. And after a while of looking, and they didn't find anything, they stopped. They couldn't figure out why or where the plane went. Another one that's interesting is the nation's largest disappearance of a military aircraft happened in that area. It had a lot of the personnel and a lot of the passengers disappeared. This was in 1950. It had 8 crew members and 36 passengers. The craft left, it had liftoff on January 26th at 1 p.m. and made a radio check-in around 2 hours after they had liftoff. After that check-in, after they had checked in, that was the last check-in and communication that anybody got from this aircraft. From the aircraft, I believe it was, did I write it down? I don't think I wrote down what the aircraft was called. but thousands of volunteers were on foot looking for a crash or looking for wreckage or passengers, and they were on foot on land. And the U.S. and the Canadian military aircrafts, planes, were looking above ground trying to find this aircraft, but they couldn't find it. There was no wreckage, there was no passengers, there was nothing to indicate that there was a crash anywhere. Another occurrence happened on a Japanese plain cargo ship. It was the 1628. The pilot and the crew said that while he was flying, he saw 3 unidentified aerial phenomena, as they say. But he just thought that it was U.S. military, didn't think anything of it, and then kept flying. But around a few hours after that, he kept seeing these aircrafts keeping pace with the jet. They were keeping pace with him and flying erratically. And this happened for over 50 minutes of them just flying erratically around the ship. And then they just, they had flashing of lights from him, and then they just disappeared. They were just gone. And usually people would be like, okay, you were just seeing things, it was probably dark, you're going through some clouds. But a civilian and even the military radar proved these statements that there was these unidentified flying objects in the sky next to this jet and then just disappeared. And this caused a huge media outroar. A lot of people found this really interesting because aliens maybe? I don't know. Maybe it was military, I don't know. But a lot of people believe that within this triangle is a space vortex. And if it's like an opening to another dimension, who's to say that whatever is in that other dimension can come through into our dimension? And I am someone that believes in alternate universes and different dimensions. I find that really fascinating. So, I don't know. And I do believe in Bermuda Triangles. I do think that there are certain parts of the Earth that have some kind of magnetic energy that can create these openings to different dimensions and these Bermuda Triangles. Every single state has some kind of sort of a Bermuda Triangle, because I think there's certain spots where certain energies are more, get more excited or are more powerful than other parts. And I've read about this Alaskan Triangle before. I've heard about it before. I have read stories about it before, but I didn't really dive deep into some of these stories that a lot of aircrafts and people have disappeared in this area. Now, of course, on the other hand, if you were to think of the logical side, Alaska has some pretty serious terrain. It can be very cold. A lot of the landscapes can be very dangerous, and if you're someone who's never been in that area and you try to hike or something or travel in that area, you could get lost or you could freeze to death. You could have been eaten by some kind of animal, so if you were to think about it on the not conspiracy theory side, that could be why a lot of people disappeared. But when it comes to the aircrafts, you would find some level of evidence of a wreckage, pieces of plane, passengers, and they never have. So explain that. There was something I forgot to mention about the space vortexes and the Alaskan Triangle. A lot of people believe that there's energy vortexes that can actually mess with your emotions and your mindset. Some people have said that when people who have done research in the area have said that when they're in the area, they feel terrible and it ruins their mood. But when they leave the area, they're fine. People believe that if the vortexes are moving clockwise, it can help create positive emotions, but if it's moving counterclockwise, it can make negative emotions, which I believe in energy. So I think that it's because I've walked places and been in locations where it makes me feel awful, and then I'll leave and I feel fine. Because I think places have energy, not just from people, but just from in general. The last conspiracy theory / urban legend is this one's a big one. This one's one that I almost contemplated not talking about, because this is one of those government conspiracy theory things that you worry that if you talk about it, you might get in trouble, but we're going to talk about it anyway, and that is the Harp Facility, the High Frequency Auroral Research Program in Alaska. It's very controversial. I didn't realize how controversial until I was reading about it. So basically, this is a program. I actually had to write this down because there were things that I just didn't understand. So basically, they are developing ionospheric enhanced technology for radio communication and surveillance. So HARP was established in 1993, and it was funded by the U.S. Air Force, the Navy, the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, and the DARPA, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And it was designed by the BAE Advanced Technologies. The Ionospheric Research Instrument is a high-powered radio frequency transmitter, and it's used to temporarily excite the ionosphere to ionized part of the upper atmosphere. So the ionosphere, or whatever it's called, is somewhere in between the magnetosphere and the atmosphere. And they're using it to create some level of communication and surveillance, I guess. But a lot of people don't feel great about this, and I think it's a little weird that you're kind of messing with part of the spheres that keep us safe from the sun and other things in space. But a lot of people believe that what they're actually doing is trying to figure out a way to control the weather and be able to control our minds and make us do things. A woman named Rosalie Bertell tried to warn people in 1996 that they were using HARP and that they were going to deploy it as a military weapon. Now think about this. They have technology to mess with our atmospheres, the ionosphere. So why wouldn't they be able to use this, our own ionosphere, as a weapon to us, or to a weapon to a different country? A lot of people blame HARP for a lot of the tragedies and thunderstorms in Iran, in Pakistan, in Haiti, in Turkey, and a bunch of other places. They blame HARP for power outages, and they think it caused the downing of Flight 800. They think it's to blame for Gulf War syndrome or for fatigue syndrome, which I find really, really fascinating, really, really interesting. And it's kind of difficult for me because there is a part of me that feels like, why you gotta go up there and mess with it, leave it alone. But another part of me is like, I really think that, because you don't know what our government is gonna do. I'm not gonna say this last name right, but the son of Nick Begich, who's he's a government rep or something like that, I believe, Nick Jr. He wrote a book called Angels Don't Play This Harp, and he claimed that the facility can trigger earthquakes and can turn the upper atmosphere into a big lens and make the sky burn, like literally burn the sky, making it like a giant magnifying glass and burn the sky. And he actually has a website that talks about how this machine, this facility, can use it for mind control. And this isn't even half of some of the conspiracy theories and the way people feel about this HARP facility in Alaska. Like, a lot of people believe, and I can understand why they believe that, because I think there are certain, I think technology is really interesting. I think it can be really beneficial, but then there are things where I'm like, stop touching it, leave it alone, just leave it alone. I know you're trying to understand. It's one thing using science to understand space. It's another thing to use our ionosphere, part of something that keeps us safe from the sun, for personal gain, because you're basically using this thing that protects all of us. What if you did something wrong and it just like fucked it up, and then we're all screwed, you know? So it's like, there are times where I think that the government and science doesn't really think about the collective. They think about, oh, here's this new technology, here's this new thing that we could do, this is gonna make us so much money, this is gonna be amazing. You know, I do also think that this is one of those, you know, foil hat conspiracy theories, but part of me feels like I'm gonna make myself a conspiracy hat, like a conspiracy theory hat, because this is something that I kind of believe in, because there have been times where science will try to use something, and then there's so many, like, I know there are movies, but there are movies like this and video games where people fuck with parts of the earth or fuck with space or fuck with certain things, and then we all get screwed. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, have you never seen a space catastrophe movie? You know, leave it alone. Stop touching it. But I do think the technology is really interesting. So I kind of float back and forth between, I think the technology is super interesting, and I think that it could be potentially beneficial. But I also feel like, stop touching it. Leave it alone. It's up there. We're already fucking up our Earth down here enough. We don't need to go up there and fuck it up more. Alrighty, so there you go. Those are some urban legends / conspiracy theories about Alaska. And Alaska has a lot. And if you like conspiracy theories, you should look into the Harp Facility and all those conspiracy theories, because damn, like I could do a whole video on this, because there's so much conspiracy theories, so many people just believing that this is technology that they're using for mind control. A lot of people believing that America is using this technology to like create a weapon for war for different countries. Like, it's pretty insane. It's pretty interesting and insane. And cat's trying to open a closet. But I believe it. I think it's interesting and I believe it. And so, I don't know. But if you want to look into it, I highly recommend it. And if you're ever bored and want to look into some conspiracy theories or urban legends, you should do it, man. It's a great level of entertaining. But if you read about some crazy ones before you go to bed, you're going to have some wacky ass dreams. Because, like, I've had some wacky ass dreams. Because I'll do a lot of research and a lot of my writing when I'm home before I go to bed. And it just, like, wacky ass dreams. But, yeah. But I'm going to go. I need to put on shoes and get ready to go see Scream, which I'm really excited for. And if you want to see any specific states that you would like me to talk about, comment down below and let me know, and I will. I have done other states, I can't remember which ones, but I did make a playlist, and I'll put that in the description below so you can watch the other ones if you'd like. I know I did Utah, I know I did Florida, I think I did Maine, and I can't remember anymore. But yeah, and I forgot how much I like doing this, so I want to do it even more. So yeah, but thank you for joining me in this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you want to hit subscribe, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you can be notified whenever I post. And I hope that you have a wonderful day and a beautiful night. Please be safe out there, and this is Kat signing off. Bye.